everybody, and welcome to NBA TV Basketballography. I'm Andre Aldridge. Today we profile a popular and enduring figure on the NBA scene with more than half a century spent as a player, coach, and broadcaster. He is Johnny Red Kerr. Now, Johnny became known to many of today's fans as the colorful commentator for the Chicago Bulls. But he actually started out as a high school star in the Windy City. And after a great college career at the University of Illinois, Kerr came to the NBA in 1954 as a first-round draft pick of the Syracuse Nationals. In his rookie year, he helped Syracuse win its only NBA title, and he went on to become one of the top big men of the 1950s.
I guarded centers, for years in Syracuse till Johnny Kerr came and beat me to man. I was trying to guard Mike, and that man beat me to death, man. But like the saying goes, somebody's got to do it. It's a dirty job.
My first year in the NBA, 1954-55, I was a center on a team that won a world championship. It was a thrill. And then it seemed like Chamberlain and Russell in the same division. We never got out of our division again to play for it.
When I first came to this league, the big guys were like behemoths. Like they couldn't play on a 16-foot lane because they couldn't cross it in 3 seconds. And so, I'm not knocking all of them, but I'm saying that generally speaking, they were kind of lumbersome. And for me to play with a guy like John, the guy was quick with his hands and very, 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 very bright player.
Saw Johnny play, and Johnny impressed the hell out of me. The way he was playing as a team player, he's playing the pivot. To me, he was the best ball handler I seen at the. See, I'm no basketball expert, but I can see him playing the pivot in front of the guy that's the best ball handler going. As you pass him the ball and cut, you're going to score. You got a chance. He's a team player.
I remember that Johnny Kerr that played for Syracuse. I could shut him down, but what he did was develop some more shots, and so now I got to start all over, working hard,
John could score, but what John probably did most for us, he was an outstanding passer.
And at that time, the center was very important in the offensive attack at Syracuse. He could pass the ball. All our plays ran through him.
And we kind of, I don't say it was a motion offense, but we were small, so you couldn't be standing around a lot. So there's a lot of movement involved, back door and cutting and picking and screening. And for us to function as well as we did, we had to have a center who could really handle the basketball.
And opponents became all too familiar with Johnny's skills. With only 8 teams in the league back then, players faced each other much more frequently than they do today.
What was great about the old days is we used to play these double headers. So there would be 3 teams staying usually at the same hotel. And we became friends with the other guys on the other teams, and Johnny Kerr and I became buddies.
Well, there was only 4 teams in the Eastern Division, in the Eastern Conference, and it was Tuesdays in New York. It was doubleheader night. You had all 4 of the teams playing. The Knicks would be the host of the second game. They call it Get Even Night. We'd be playing a game, and there'd be about maybe 2,000-3,000 people there, and maybe a 10-point difference at the end of the game, and somebody had scored. And 2,000 people would jump up on the stands and scream and holler, and then you'd score another basket, and 2,000 would stand up and scream and holler.
So that whenever we were on the road and playing in a doubleheader, going to be in the same town, we'd all go out and have a good time after the game, and we had an awful lot of fun.
The camaraderie was great. After it was over, we'd all end up in a restaurant, and even though you might have had a fight during the game, I don't know how many fights I had with Tommy Heinsohn and the Celtics, and through the years.
Johnny Red Kerr is the funniest guy. He's got as quick a wit as you'll ever hear.
I recently went to an auction where he had a painting up, and it was a benefit, and I bid $700 on Tommy's painting. I got it, and I told my wife, I said, I'm so mad at Tommy, I don't know whether I should take this and put it above my fireplace or in my fireplace.
When Johnny Kerr was, as a guy, that's, just tremendous. He was an outstanding ball player, but as a person, he just
has got this kind of quirky imagination that when you're around the guy, but he was an exceptional player, you know, said that he was so slow that he got called for 3 seconds making a layup. You know, he come up with lines like that. He was a very funny guy.
Yeah, John was a character, but he was a character before and after the game.
During the game, he's all business.
It's all business, serious business.
And I played 12 years in the league, and I figured it out. Of all the games that I played against the Celtics, playoffs and everything else, it was like 2 seasons of games that I played in that building. It's an awful lot of games to play in a visitor's court.
After Johnny Kerr's first 9 seasons in Syracuse, the Nationals moved to Philadelphia in 1963 and were renamed the 76ers. But the same obstacles still remain: the reigning NBA champion Celtics. The Sixers would have their chance to end Boston's dynasty in 1965. The teams met in the Eastern Division Finals, and Game 7 came down to the final seconds.
It wasn't nice to look over and see Red with that victory cigar. And I think a lot of people have seen him light it up. But I may be one of the few guys that saw him light it up and then put it out. I was playing with the Philadelphia 76ers, and they had a 3-point lead, and Red had the cigar going. There was about 5 seconds to go, and Chamberlain came in and scored a basket. Now it was only 1 point we were down.
The Celtics are leading 110 to 109. There are 5 seconds left.
And we got a 1-point lead, and our ball out of bounds. I did not trust anybody else to take it out but me. I wanted to take it out because I'd make sure that I could make a good pass.
Bill Russell throws the ball in, but the ball hits the guy wire. In those years, the basket was up like this, and from the corner, the guy wire ran from here up into the upper deck, and from here in the upper deck to hold it steady. Well, the ball hit that guy wire and dropped down and came out of bounds, and the referee blew the whistle. Now it's our ball.
He loses the ball off the support. Russell lost the ball off the support, and the ball goes to Philadelphia.
We go in the huddle, and all I could say was, guys, we got to do something.
There's 5 seconds to go. Red Auerbach had the cigar going. Now we see him reach over there and grind that cigar out.
Red said, okay, don't foul him. And Russell said, these goat horns are growing about an inch a second on the top of my head. Someone please bail me out.
We have the ball under Boston's basket, 1 point behind. But that formed an enigma because we had the greatest offensive player in the game, but yet he was the worst foul shooter. He wasn't a good foul shooter. So I decided not to go to Will because they'd foul him immediately, and if he misses him, we're dead. I devised a play where Greer takes it out of bounds, throws to Chet Walker. Then Johnny Kerr, who said great picks, would pick Sam Jones, who was guarding Greer. Because this would be the second pass, Sam Jones won't expect it.
So we go out onto the floor, and they have Chamberlain, Johnny Kerr, 6'10", Luke Jackson, 6'10", Hal Greer, and Chet Walker. We counter with Russell, Sanders, myself, Sam, and Casey. Because I'd played more in the front court, I said to Sam, let me take Johnny Kerr. He said, no, I'll take him, I'll keep him off the boards. I said, you sure? He said, okay, because I was a little bigger than Sam.
Well, what happened was we came in and we were going to set a play for Hal Greer, and I was to come in and grab Sam Jones and K.C. Jones. So they slapped the ball, get ready for the play.
5 seconds left. Boston only has a 1-point lead.
I go set the screen. Hal throws it over my head to Chet Walker.
Greer's putting the ball in play. He gets it out deep, and Havlicek steals it.
I took that extra peek, I saw the ball, and I knew I could get my hand on it.
And I hear the crowd just roaring and screaming, and that was when, like Johnny Moe said, Havlicek stole the ball, Havlicek stole the ball, Havlicek stole the ball.
Havlicek stole the ball.
Havlicek steals the ball. I said, Havlicek, how lucky can you be?
Johnny Havlicek is being mobbed by the fans. Bill Russell wants to grab Havlicek. He hurts him.
It would become one of the greatest moments in NBA playoff history as the Sixers watched their golden opportunity go up in smoke.
Greer's putting the ball in play. He gets it out deep, and Havlicek steals it. Over to Sam Jones. Havlicek stole the ball. It's all over. It's all over.
And it was terrible, except the one thing I did see in that whole game, I'll remember forever, was the cigar being lit, the cigar being put out.
After his playing days ended, Johnny Kerr moved to coaching. He returned to his native Chicago in 1966 and took over the city's NBA expansion franchise.
And another season begins, this time with a new team, the Chicago Bulls. Dick Klein, a new owner, and John Kerr, a new coach, joined the other 9 teams at the annual draft.
Richie Guerin, who was the coach of the Atlanta Hawks, the St. Louis Hawks at that time, I guess, made a statement. Somebody asked him about how many games you think the Bulls will win, and he said, oh, not more than 10 or 12. Well, that was our battle cry, and we went out, won our first game, which happened to be in St. Louis. It was on the road. We won that first game. Matter of fact, we won our first 3. We were leading the league at one time.
Kerr led the Bulls to 33 wins and a playoff berth in their first season. He was named the NBA's Coach of the Year and helped pro basketball finally gain a foothold in Chicago.
I don't think any team has ever, in any sport, has ever had the success that we had that first year in Chicago. And it was very, very important that we do, because Chicago was a graveyard for basketball for many, many years. They had the Stags and the Gears and the Zephyrs and the Packers and the, I guess it was an ABA team in there, and they struggled. They never really were able to catch on, so I thought it was very, very important, and I wanted to be a part of that to make sure, because I was born and raised in the city. I went to a city high school, Tilden Tech. I went to the University of Illinois, and I wanted to come back and be an integral part of that team staying and making it big the first year.
But he never could have imagined the heights the Bulls would reach, and Johnny had a courtside view for the entire journey. He became a color analyst on the team's broadcast, endearing himself to fans with his witty commentary. And he watched Chicago build a dynasty, starting in 1984 when they drafted a player from North Carolina named Michael Jordan.
I've seen every basket that Michael's made as a professional, whether it's games that I've done or I've watched on national TV. And it's hard to believe. You think you see the same thing twice. You think you see him do something he's done before. And then you say, no, this is something he made up, it's different. And it gets you the excitement. I know the way the fans react to it. I've been doing all of his games since '84, and I just find myself as a fan jumping out of my seat. Matter of fact, one play I saw him make, I said, Jim, well, you saw it. You're looking at it at home. Slow it down. Look at it again. You know, I mean, it was just something that we think we've seen this guy do everything, and it's very hard to describe.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks.
Michael Jordan at his best.
While Michael had many different moves on the court, there was one maneuver that remained the same every single night, and Johnny was part of the ritual.
Red Kerr, and I think we're ready to go.
Well, it's funny, before every game, Michael comes over, and the player's hands get perspiration on him. It's hard to hold the ball, so he puts rosin on. And he's got this little routine he's done for about 8 years now, I guess. I remember wearing a black blazer, and I had a cup of coffee down, getting ready to do the game, and he came over and he got the rosin on his hand, and he went like that, he clapped it, and it came all over my black blazer, and it just looked like I had a bad case of dandruff. It was in my coffee, and I said, hey, what are you doing? What's this? Well, he looked over his shoulder. He thought that was kind of funny.
You can see why occasionally.
But it really puts a human element on Michael Jordan. People see him as this great scoring machine that goes out and does all these things above the rim and in the air. Yet he always takes time before going to his battleground to come by and tease that old redheaded guy doing the games over there. I honestly believe, though, now that it's got to be such a big part of his ritual, that Michael believes it is for good luck.
Well, you see the ritual of Kevin Garnett, the rosin in honor of Michael Jordan, what he used to do to Johnny Red Kerr in Chicago.
I think he likes to get us. You know, we wear nice clothes during the game, and he likes to dust us off.
We're ready now, right?
We're ready.
All right, let's play ball here at the United Center.
You know, somebody said, well, why don't you take a big fan and blow it back in his face, Red? And I said, yeah. And then get in his eyes, he wouldn't be able to see. And I said, this is Red Kerr from Keokuk, Iowa, bringing you to the CBA game. It's an unbelievable sight to be pulling into a hotel at 3 in the morning on the bus. You turn around the corner and all of a sudden the whole street is lit up. You think, wow, they're filming a movie out here or something. Well, it's not. It's just that the Bulls are arriving.
Pardon me. It's really a privilege to be around some of the people. I've been a basketball fan my whole life, and I can't tell you what it is to maybe be on an airplane at 1 o'clock in the morning and hear Johnny Kerr, recounting a story about, playing against Wilt Chamberlain on a snowy night in Hershey, Pennsylvania, 35, 40 years ago. I was a basketball fan my whole life. Those are the things that really mean a lot to me.
I think that Bill Russell or Johnny Kerr or Bob Cousy or Jim Luskatoff or Harry Gallatin would laugh and say, "Oh, your current players have it tough? Where do I sign on the dotted line? I feel horrible about them." But the fact is that each player, in his own way, had different pressures.
Salaries in Syracuse was really funny. I can remember going over to the bus station with Danny one year, and I knew that I should probably get a $2,000 raise. He knew that he thought he should give me the $2,000, but he couldn't do it because the money was there. And the conversation went like this. He says, "Well, what do you think, John?" I said, "Well, Dan, you know what I want." He says, I know what you want, but I can't give you that. You know what I can give you." I said, "Yeah, I know what you can give me, but that's not what I want to settle on." He says, "Well, I can't give you what you want, and you won't take what I want to give you, so let's split it down the middle, and if we do good at the end of the season, I'll give you what you want." That's the way the conversation went. I wanted $2,000, he wanted to give me $1,000, and at the end of the season, if we did good, which he ended up selling the team, and he came up and gave me an extra $1,000. But there was my contract negotiations in a nutshell. No agents, nobody around, just two guys talking, no figures brought up, yet both of us knew what we were talking about.
The players that brought us here, the 40s and 50 players, made extraordinary sacrifices in terms of their travel, in terms of the conditions under which they played, and the number of games they might play in a row. Our players have a different series and sort of set of issues. It's everybody wants at them, maybe too much.
If you go back to the stars of our time, Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, we talked about Chamberlain and about Russell, they never had that many reporters covering. They never had that many microphones stuck in their face. They never had to be scrutinized as much as Michael Jordan and the current players today. I mean, there's everybody waiting in line to ask that one question, and if he answers it wrong, or a player answers it wrong today, he can really stir up a whole beehive.
Maybe in the 40s, people didn't want us enough, and in the 90s, they want us too much, and those can be the same problem from different perspectives, but obviously, I guess that's what they call progress, and I think, to me, what's happening now is that our players today are just getting the recognition for this great game. But the game was always great.
I wrote a book in '89, Bull Session, and in the opening paragraph I said, "I've got the greatest job in the world. I get to watch Michael Jordan play 82 times a year, and they pay me to talk about him." Doesn't seem right. That was amazing that when they won that last game, and I always said that it was Michael's fault that we didn't win 8 championships in a row. And he says, "What do you mean?" I said, "If you didn't leave to play baseball, we'd have won those other 2 years too."
Throughout his long career as a player, coach, and broadcaster, Johnny Kerr played a key role in the growth of the NBA. But for all he accomplished in basketball, he's remembered just as much for his sense of humor and upbeat attitude. And he clearly enjoyed the ride.
And how about this assist from Johnny Kerr?
Johnny was happy-go-lucky. When he played hard, but when the game was over, it was a hell of a lot of fun. And of course, we all know Johnny Kerr is the guy in the old-timers game who pulled down Tommy Huntington's pants. That's the kind of stuff that Johnny would pull, and it really helped our team because he loosened up in the locker room when Johnny was around.
Great kid, personality, happy-go-lucky, After the game, he'd give you he'd give you everything he had during the game. But after the game, he was the happiest guy going. He probably still is.
As a player, Johnny Red Kerr certainly left his mark. Was a three-time All-Star, won an NBA title with Syracuse, and averaged a double-double for his career, 14 points and 11 rebounds. He also became the league's Iron Man, playing in 844 consecutive games, a record that stood for 18 years. As the first head coach of the Bulls, he planted the seeds for the NBA's popularity in Chicago and watched it grow during an era of glory in the 1990s. And as a broadcaster, he brought it all home to the fans of Chicago in his unique style. Thanks for joining us on this edition of NBA TV Basketballography. We'll see you next time.
Today's NBA